You know what unbreakable mental strength actually looks like in daily life. It does not look like someone who never struggles. It looks like someone whose habits are so quietly solid that struggle never gets to make the final decision about what happens next. Psychology has found that mental strength is not a personality type you are born with. It is a collection of specific daily habits practiced so consistently that they eventually become the structure of a life. Here are 10 habits that build what cannot be broken. The first habit is processing difficult emotions the same day they arrive. People with unbreakable mental strength do not store pain for later. They do not bury it under productivity or distraction. They find a moment, turn toward what they feel, and begin working through it immediately. Research from psychologist Susan Nolan-Hoeksema at Yale University found that emotional rumination, repeatedly turning a feeling over without processing it, is the single strongest predictor of depression and anxiety over time. Mentally strong people do not ruminate. They process. Those two things use the same material but produce entirely different outcomes. The second habit is protecting their mornings with unusual seriousness. Before the world makes its demands, they do something that belongs entirely to them. A walk, silence, a page of writing, something that establishes who they are before the day begins telling them who to be. Neuroscience research on cortisol rhythms found that the first 90 minutes after waking represent the period of highest cognitive clarity and lowest emotional reactivity for most people. Mentally strong individuals instinctively or deliberately protect this window. How you enter the day shapes the neurological tone of everything that follows it. The third habit is making decisions based on values rather than moods. Everyone has days when motivation disappears completely, when nothing feels worth the effort. Mentally strong people have a set of internal commitments that function independently of how they feel on any given morning. The mood changes. The direction does not. Research from the Association for Psychological Science on Self-Regulation found that value-based decision-making produces significantly more consistent behavior over time than motivation-based decision-making. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings fluctuate. Values are a structure, and structures hold even when everything surrounding them is moving. Strong people build on structure, not sensation. The fourth habit is spending real time with their own thoughts without filling every silence. They sit without a screen. They walk without headphones. They allow their mind to move through its own material without interruption. That kind of silence is not emptiness. It is where their clearest thinking lives. Research on the default mode network from neuroscientist Marcus Raichle at Washington University found that the brain performs its most sophisticated integrative processing during periods of quiet wakefulness. The moments most people fill with distraction are the moments the brain most needs for synthesis, self-reflection, and genuine problem-solving. Mental strength grows in the silence most people actively avoid. The fifth habit is maintaining physical health as a non-negotiable foundation, not for appearance, not for performance metrics, but because they understand deeply that the body and the mind are not separate systems. What happens to one happens to the other. You cannot build an unbreakable mind on an exhausted and neglected body. Research from the Harvard Medical School on exercise and neuroplasticity found that regular physical movement increases the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that directly supports the growth and maintenance of neural connections. Mentally strong people are not exercising to look a certain way. They are maintaining the biological infrastructure that everything else runs on. The sixth habit is ending relationships and situations that consistently cost more than they return. Not impulsively, not dramatically, but with a calm, clear-eyed assessment of where their energy goes and what it produces. They love people. They also make hard decisions about proximity when those decisions become necessary. Research on social networks and well-being from Nicholas Christakis and James Fowler at Harvard found that emotional states are highly contagious within social groups and spread up to 3 degrees of separation. Mentally strong people are not cold in their relationship choices. They are precise. They understand that who surrounds you quietly shapes who you become over time. Now, consider this for a moment. Think about the last time you stayed in something you knew was draining you. A relationship, a habit, a version of your daily life that was slowly costing you more than you admitted. The seventh habit is reviewing their behavior honestly at regular intervals. At the end of each week or each day, they ask themselves clear questions. Did I act in line with what I believe? Where did I fall short? What needs to change? Not as self-punishment, but as ongoing calibration. Research on self-reflection and performance from Harvard Business School found that individuals who spend 15 minutes at the end of each day reviewing their actions and decisions improve measurably faster than those who simply accumulate experience without reflection. Experience alone does not build strength. Experience examined honestly does. The eighth habit is maintaining a long view when short-term pressure is at its highest. When everything feels urgent and the immediate situation is painful, they access a wider perspective. They ask whether this moment will matter in 5 years, whether the decision they are about to make serves today or serves the decade. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo's research on time perspective found that individuals with a balanced future orientation, those who can access long-term thinking during short-term stress, consistently demonstrate greater emotional stability and more effective decision-making under pressure. The ability to widen your time horizon in a crisis is one of the most practical and powerful cognitive skills in existence. The ninth habit is returning to their own standards after failure without extended self-punishment. They fail. They acknowledge it directly and without minimizing. They understand what went wrong, and then they return to their standards. The time between the failure and the return is where their real strength shows itself most clearly. Research on self-compassion and resilience from psychologist Kristen Neff at the University of Texas found that individuals who respond to their own failures with self-compassion rather than harsh self-criticism recover more quickly, take more corrective action, and perform better in subsequent attempts. Self-punishment feels like accountability. It rarely produces the results that genuine accountability does. The 10th habit is the one that holds all the others together. People with unbreakable mental strength return to their identity in the moment of greatest pressure. When everything is uncertain and difficult and pulling them in multiple directions, they ask one quiet question: what kind of person am I? And then they act from the answer. Research on identity-based behavior from psychologist James Clear, building on foundational work in behavioral psychology, found that the most durable behavioral changes come from shifts in self-perception rather than shifts in goals or systems. When your behavior is an expression of who you believe you are, consistency becomes natural rather than forced. Identity is the deepest and most reliable source of mental strength available. Now consider this for a moment. Every habit in this video has something in common. None of them require extraordinary circumstances. None of them demand perfect conditions or exceptional resources. Each one is available to you on an ordinary Tuesday morning when nothing around you feels particularly inspiring or significant. That is exactly the point. Mental strength is not built in extraordinary moments. Those moments test what was already built. The building happens in regular, unglamorous, private moments when you choose the harder and more honest option, simply because it aligns with who you have decided to be. The person who wakes up and protects their morning when they do not feel like it is building something. The person who sits with a difficult feeling instead of reaching for distraction is building something. The person who ends a draining relationship quietly and without drama is building something that no external event can later dismantle. Unbreakable does not mean untested. Every person with genuine mental strength has been tested repeatedly. What makes them unbreakable is not immunity to difficulty. It is that each time difficulty arrived, their habits gave them somewhere solid to stand while they decided what to do next. Those habits did not appear fully formed. They were built slowly, through repetition, through failure, through the accumulated experience of choosing one more time to act from their best self when their worst self was louder and easier to access. That process is available to every person willing to begin it honestly. What psychology keeps returning to is that mental strength is less about what you have and far more about what you repeatedly do. Your brain is a system that learns from repetition. Every time you practice one of these habits, you are literally building the neural architecture of a stronger mind. That architecture is yours to keep. Think back to where we began. The image of someone who never struggles. That picture was wrong at the start, and it is worth correcting now at the end. The people with unbreakable mental strength struggle constantly. The difference is that they have built something underneath the struggling that holds. 10 quiet habits. Practice daily. That is what it is made of. Unbreakable is not a gift. It is not a personality trait distributed randomly to a fortunate few. It is the accumulated result of 10 ordinary decisions made on ordinary days by people who simply refused to stop choosing in the direction of who they wanted to become. That is within reach. It always has been,